Yep.
Okay,
Good
so it's
anytime on this.
it's 3:06 p.m., so I'm just going to start. Thank you everyone for joining us. We sent you an email a few weeks ago indicating that we wanted to be responsive to some of the concerns that you shared when we shared the findings from the first phase of the project on building capacity in African Nova Scotian communities around climate change preparedness. As you're aware, there are two phases to this project, and the first phase began in 2023, where we held workshops in 12 African Nova Scotian communities. The second phase of the project includes additional workshops in 13 African Nova Scotian communities, and those workshops were completed in August. So we have now completed workshops in 25 African Nova Scotian communities around climate change. When we shared the findings for the phase one, many people on the Zoom call indicated that they were concerned about urgent climate change issues. They were thinking about last year and the fires and flooding, and obviously didn't want to wait for this project to end before they became much more educated on things that they can do now to deal with issues that might come up in a much more immediate way. So I reached out to Clean Foundation, or I think they reached out to us. I think we had a meeting with them a few months ago, and I was kind of blown away by all the services and resources that they have and things that they can provide, the information they can provide. So I followed up and asked them whether or not they can deliver a presentation to you to provide you with information on resources, information, links, etc., that you can access in order to deal with more immediate concerns, because I understood that there was a level of anxiety about what can we do now was what people were asking. So that's what this presentation is about. So Rob Harris at Clean Foundation in Nova Scotia agreed to deliver this presentation. He's going to do a presentation, and then we're going to open the floor for questions that you have. He will point you in the direction of certain specific resources, but perhaps after this Zoom call, there might be additional resources that and links that we can share with you that we can get from Rob. So I will put it to Rob now to maybe introduce yourself in more detail and to begin the presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Waldron. So I'm Rob Harris. I'm the Vice President of Program Delivery for the Clean Foundation. I've worked with this organization for about 15 years now. It was my first job coming out of university, was screwing in light bulbs all across Nova Scotia, and they haven't asked me to leave yet. So I'm still still here. In university and my personal background, I'm not an energy efficiency specialist or a climate specialist by trade. I have a couple degrees in community history and public history. And when I say that, I really am not kind of like a big man historian. I don't remember dates and names. I really spent about 6 years studying history so that I could better understand my place in the community that I live and serve and grew up in. And it left me with not a great understanding of like I say, major historical events, but more like a taste in my mouth that of how we have come to live in the societies that we currently live in, and feeling of responsibility to make positive change in my own community. And I've really found that working in the nonprofit environment has been the vehicle for me to do that work. So I've worked with the United Way in Cape Breton. I'm based in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and as I said, I've worked with Clean Foundation for the last 15 years, trying to use the green economy and environmental programming as a vehicle to create good jobs and connect with communities and serve folks through really impactful community-focused programming. So I can talk a little bit more. Let me see if there we go. So I've got a slide here, just a general slide about the Clean Foundation. We are the largest environmental organization in Atlantic Canada. As of today, we are about 180 employees. We work across 55 unique programs that serve community members all across Nova Scotia, but also Prince Edward Island. And we take part in a lot of policy discussions with all levels of government, and really, we're trying to help connect with communities and provide a voice to folks who are directly impacted by climate change. So of those 55 programs at 180 employees, we are kind of loosely organized into a few departments. So we have programs that focus on education and engagement. We work in schools and providing online educational materials. We have energy efficiency and renewable energy programs. That's kind of where I spend most of my time in the organization, working on direct retrofit programs for community buildings and affordable housing, low-income homeowner services, that sort of thing. We have a workforce development department that focuses on wage subsidies, custom employment support training services, bursary programs, really trying to build capacity in the communities that we serve. We offer transportation programs, so we provide electric vehicle rebates and test drives. We have a coastal restoration department, and really increasingly focused on resiliency. And I'll get into more detail on all these departments, but just as a broad overview of the types of work that we do, we're spread pretty widely. As I mentioned, we do a lot of policy work with the provincial government, with local governments, and we sit on a lot of panels federally that try to inform the way that we approach environmental services in our country. And I have social equity listed on the screen here. It's not that we have programs whose sole purpose is to work on social equity in our communities, but really it is a lens through which we try to develop all of the programs that we offer at Clean. So I often say, we, as an example, we deliver the Mi'kmaq Home Energy Efficiency Program. That is a program that seeks to upgrade all Mi'kmaq-owned homes in Nova Scotia over a 10-year period. And Clean might be the best positioned organization to deliver that because we're a registered charity. We have a really strong social mandate, and we have a lot of great relationships in community across Mi'kmaq communities in Nova Scotia. But we're not the right organization. We really hope that we can work ourselves out of that job as quickly as possible. We offer training programs that train Indigenous energy advisors. We look to expand our trade partner network to include as many preferred community partners as possible. And, our hope is that in not too long, we can support the development of Mi'kmaq-owned energy efficiency companies that will be able to deliver that work on these important programs. So really, the best job that we can do is to really work ourselves out of a job as quickly as possible and ensure that we maximize the amount of benefits and opportunities and educational opportunities as possible for the communities that we serve. So I'll just kind of go department by department and mention some of the specific programming. As Dr. Waldron mentioned, I think there was an impetus from this group to really look at ways to get involved in environmental action and solutions or programs that might be immediately available. So I'll speak about a few of those in each of the departments, and at the end of the presentation, I'll provide some contact information for folks to get in touch with members of our team if there's an area of particular interest. So we here at Clean, we do across all that work from building retrofits to education. We employ, like I said, 180 people, and they vary from puppeteers to engineers. You see some of those folks on the screen right now. We offer in-school programming that ranges from teaching our youngest citizens about environmental issues through puppet shows. Eddie and the Air out there and all of his puppet friends that travel from school to school across the province. I've never seen a more engaged group of young folks than when they're sitting crisscross applesauce on the mat watching Eddie talk about environmental issues. We also offer training for teachers and for students, providing educational resource kits to pre-service teachers that are just getting into the profession. We really want to equip our new educators in the province with the best tools possible. so they can go into their classrooms and talk about climate change with confidence. So we do that, and some of that train the trainer kind of model of educational support. And then over on the right side of the screen here, you'll see mention of the Nova Scotia Youth Climate Council. So as of last year, we started supporting the government and engaging youth in meaningful engagement with our elected officials. So we bring a group of youth together every year and discuss policy issues and perspectives, ways that climate change is affecting our younger demographic in ways that we might just not think about, we might not be aware of as folks who have been involved in the sector for a long time. We try to make sure that they have a voice directly to our elected politicians, so they can help inform the types of policies and actions that we take. In the transportation world, I mentioned a couple programs, but some of the most exciting stuff, the Next Ride program is a great example. You know, we have a mandate in Nova Scotia to convert pretty rapidly to electric vehicles, and you're seeing more and more on the road all the time. But a lot of folks don't really understand what it means to make that jump, what it feels like to drive an electric vehicle. There's a lot of questions around range anxiety. When you have to charge a vehicle, what the kind of like habit shift is when you change from a regular combustion engine to something you can plug in at home every night. So we offer a test drive program where we travel across the province and set up events and allow people to actually get behind the wheel of a Tesla or you know, a Chevy Volt or a few other neat electric vehicles, and I can tell you it feels very different. They are very responsive, they're fun to drive, and they make a lot of sense for folks across Nova Scotia. So we offer people a chance to drive them and ask questions. We have a team of experts that's prepared to like provide some educational services around how you make an electric vehicle your next ride. We also work with the province and the federal government on proliferating our electric vehicle charging stations. I think some of the biggest barriers to that shift towards electric vehicles includes just the security and knowing that you'll be able to charge it along your route. As I said, I live in Sydney, so my trip to Halifax is now featured a stop somewhere in Button Keg or in Antigonish or Glasgow, somewhere at an electric vehicle charging station, and we need more of those across the province. And we're working with our utility partners and our various levels of government to try and make that happen. We also offer electric vehicle rebates from both the province of Nova Scotia and the federal government. So altogether, there's about $8,000 in rebates available for folks that are looking to purchase an EV these days. As well, you know, there's growing supports for community organizations and you know, municipalities to look at fleet conversions. So we've got some increasing supports there for medium and heavy duty. If you want an electric Zamboni now, then we've actually got some rebates that can make that a little easier. And then we look to work with companies on fleet electrification studies. So if you have a small or medium-sized business and that maybe a construction company and you want to explore what it looks like to shift your vehicles over to EVs, then you know, we have some experts on staff that can really help navigate that process of change for your business. In the world of workforce development, we, in addition to those 180 or so clean employees that are kind of like full-time resources on our payroll every day, we have almost as many youth clean leaders like working in internship programs across Nova Scotia with us every year. So these folks are working with small community organizations that have an environmental focus. Maybe it's an environmental organization itself, or it's any other type of organization that wants to take up environmental causes. As long as you can make a connection between the work that you're doing and environmental benefit, then we will look at how we can help to subsidize youth employment positions. So these are 9 and 15-week internships where some incredibly bright young folks get their first chance to have meaningful work in environmental jobs. And I tell you, like the picture on the left here is from our our Clean Leaders Conference that we hold every year. And if you ever want to feel inspired by the just the brilliance of young people that are dedicated to this work in our community, I would encourage you to come and take part in one of our Clean Leaders conferences. Sometimes watching the experiences of these folks is really inspiring. Apart from Clean Leaders, we also have a few other wage subsidy programs that we administer on behalf of the federal government. Green Jobs and Science Horizons are for youth, folks under the age of 30, to do similar work. Those grants are available across all of Canada. I think I'm getting a bit of sound from folks in the chat, so if you wouldn't mind ensuring that you're on mute, so that would be great.
You cannot unhook it. Within your corrupted compared. He said, okay, so do I have permission to start it? So since you leave it here, you have no fan.
Yeah, I'm still getting some feedback. I think, Darlene, it looks like your mic might be on.
Maybe either Rob, you or Drymore could mute all participants on your end. As the host, you should be able to do that.
I'm not terrible with Zoom. I'm not seeing. Let me see if I can figure that out. Either way, it seems to have resolved itself for the time being, so I'll keep moving. The other department, as I mentioned, I spent most of my time at Clean over the last 15 years working in energy efficiency and building retrofits. So we've got over 40 people in our organization that are working to improve building stock. Nova Scotia's got a really interesting set of circumstances. We have higher energy costs than exist in most places across the country. We have very old housing stock. We have very high rates of energy poverty in our province, and we have a very dirty grid. When you combine those four things, you really have a set of conditions that means that energy efficiency work and building improvement just makes sense for so many reasons. The most effective way that you can really tackle energy poverty and ensuring that people have the money that they require to, buy medication, put food in the fridge, and to invest in their lives in other ways is to make sure that they're not spending unnecessary money on utility costs in their homes. So, by insulating homes, by putting in heat pumps, by investing in the resiliency of the buildings that we all own and operate, you're really ensuring that the limited housing stock that we have in our communities is going to be available for another 50 years. You're ensuring that people are comfortable in their homes and can afford to live in a way that's good for them and for the community. We see so many people when we go through the door that are forced to live in only a portion of their homes, or maybe only heating their home to 15 degrees during the winter because they're afraid to touch the thermostat. And there's just so many solutions for this stuff. And so we work really hard with Nova Scotia Power, with Efficiency Nova Scotia, with the provincial government, and with feds to really advocate for programming that is targeted at our most vulnerable neighbors, renters and low-income homeowners, Indigenous populations, African Nova Scotian communities, newcomers, folks that are, these issues around housing stock exist everywhere, but folks in those priority communities across Nova Scotia are just experiencing the impacts of it in a more dramatic way. So we've, this year alone, we'll do somewhere in the neighborhood of about $20 million in housing retrofit work, focused on public housing upgrades in Cape Breton and in Western Nova Scotia. We were co-founders of the Home Warming Program, which offers free retrofit services at no cost to low-income homeowners across the province. We deliver the Mi'kmaq Home Energy Efficiency Program I mentioned earlier, which retrofits every Mi'kmaq-owned home in Nova Scotia over a 10-year period. We offer financing programs that take advantage of really low interest financing for folks that may not have the upfront capital to invest, but also are like just above the income cutoff for some of the low income free programs in the province. We offer a multifamily housing program to try and encourage landlords to invest in energy efficiency and make rental units more comfortable for their residents. And then we deliver rebate programs for folks that aren't in a kind of income qualified position, but still need to be pointed in the right direction of what upgrades are most meaningful for them. We qualify people for provincial and federal rebates on a whole host of stuff. And yeah, apart from the direct like retrofit of buildings, the upgrade process, we, as I mentioned before, we're really concerned. This is $20 million is a lot of money for us to be investing, and that's only the tip of the iceberg. Efficiency Nova Scotia, we're just one of their delivery agents in the province. So there's a lot of money that goes into this work, and that means a lot of jobs and a lot of opportunities to do this stuff better and to make sure that the benefits, not just the upgrades themselves, but the economic benefits, the spin-off stuff, the employment opportunities for this work really land in communities that need it. And so I've heard statistics on, you know, Red Seal carpenters are at a 3 or 4% unemployment rate, but that number spikes in African Nova Scotian communities. So there's something wrong there, whereby, you know, the onus is often placed on individuals in need, that there is something they have to do to avail themselves of the benefits of the work that's happening in this sector. And I would flip that and say, you know, if we've got people that are qualified and ready to do the work, but aren't being provided the opportunity, then the issue is on industry, and it's on the way that we structure programs. And so Clean is trying to do as much as we can to kind of recognize those systemic barriers to employment and education, and create programs and subcontract work in a way that's making sure that we maximize the amount of benefit that's residing within priority communities in Nova Scotia. So we've in the last few years trained 45 energy advisors from African Nova Scotian and Indigenous communities. These are folks that will have jobs doing blower door tests and running these programs. We have currently a wage subsidy program and a custom employment support training program that's going to connect about 300 Indigenous Nova Scotians with employment opportunities and training through places like NFCC. And we recognize that, you know, part of those supportive services is making sure that we offer like barrier relief funding. So it's not just about covering NSCC tuitions or putting on a training class, but sometimes it's about paying for taxi chits so that people can get back and forth, or assisting with childcare, or providing workplace equipment, clothing, and, you know, safety boots, that sort of thing. So we try to be as flexible as possible so that we can really get the right people connected to the right jobs in this economy. There's so much work to be done to renovate. Like, we have 200,000 homes in Nova Scotia that still heat with home heating oil. That's 200,000 little problems that we have to solve. So if we can electrify those homes, make them energy efficient, shift it to a grid problem, and then we can work with Nova Scotia Power on the bigger solutions. But you know, we need to make sure that people across our province are comfortable in their homes, they can afford to heat their homes properly, and that they're employed doing this work. We need people to install heat pumps and insulation today. So we're trying to leverage the work that we do, the contracts that we hold, to make sure that we're also creating opportunities for community benefit. I mentioned a little bit about those community programs that are trying to create benefit, but one of the programs over the last few years that I'm kind of most excited about, we've created the Clean Energy and Equity Network. So this is really deliberately trying to create longer tables. We have direct employment opportunities for community champions across Nova Scotia, a few in Cape Breton, and a few on the mainland from African Nova Scotian and Mi'kmaq communities, as well as some really strong community partnerships with folks like One North End, Native Council of Nova Scotia, and the Confederacy of Mainland Mi'kmaq. This is designed to provide people with living wages so they can learn about the clean economy, about climate change issues and environmental issues and opportunities in our community, and really help us to design the programs that are going to come out and address some of those issues. So we have a team of about 12 people right now, comprised entirely from African, Nova Scotian, and Indigenous communities that are sitting around with us at the table at Clean, trying to design better programs and make sure that communities are aware of the opportunities that are out there every day. We have an increasing focus on resilience. So as Dr. Waldron mentioned at the first of this meeting, last year was pretty rough. You know, we had some of the largest wildfires and, well, the largest wildfires in Nova Scotia's history, some of the most extreme flooding events in our province. This year our ocean temperatures are higher than have ever been recorded on record, and we're in the middle of storm season. So, you know, we're at increased risk, and it's not an academic pursuit anymore. This is not there is no debate over climate change being real. This stuff is impacting us in a way that's really, like, you know, people feel it. It's capturing public imagination in a way that it never has before. And people are being affected, whether it's direct effects, whether your basement is flooding or you've had to be evacuated at some point, or it's the effect of having to watch that on the tube every night. It's really difficult to deal with the effects of climate anxiety and climate grief that go along with our changing environment. So we're trying to work in a few ways around this resilience piece. One is that it's not sufficient just to insulate basements. If that basement's going to flood next year, we really have to look at what do we do around infrastructure, sump pumps, sealing basement cracks. How do we make buildings resilient so they can really benefit from the insulation and heat pumps that we want to put in to save energy and costs? But also, how do we develop climate anxiety educational programs to better prepare students and teachers and the general public to talk about climate change and take meaningful action on climate change in a way that is most helpful to them. So we're proud of this work. I will say it's emerging. We're working with federal partners to develop some of this programming and really talking to communities around the province to figure out how we can make the most difference. But it's kind of a growing line of business for Clean to try and solve some of these resilience issues. We're also a provider of the Thriving Forest program. This is the federal 2 billion trees project. So over the next few years, Clean will be planting 21 million trees across Nova Scotia. This involves everything from really large projects like repopulating trees in the Cape Breton's North Highlands over several hectares to working with individual homeowners in Hammonds Plains to repopulate trees that were lost to wildfire last year. So a lot of work on collecting seeds. I know more about seed collection in Nova Scotia than I ever thought I would, but a super interesting project. We're also working more and more with the government these days around our coastal parks and our concrete strategies to preserving our coastal habitat. So we work with folks like Pictou Landing First Nation, for example, to living shorelines, to really significant historic sites against the effects of coastal erosion and storms. So identifying, using technology like GIS mapping to see what the effects of rising tides and extreme weather events is going to, what that type of activity is going to do to their significant sites in the community over the next 100 years, and then trying to take proactive approaches to preserving that land through installation of native grasses and plants and hay bales and other methods that we can kind of like restore the coastline in a way that it's going to be a bit more resilient to change. We also help to man the lines for the provincial coastal hazard navigation map. So there's a tool online where you can check out the impacts of climate change on the coast that are nearest to you. So we have a few folks employed on our end to help navigate people through that mapping process. apologize. I got ahead of myself by one slide. Another exciting program we have is the Community Climate Capacity Program. So we've got about 12 staff that are employed by CLEAN, but working directly with communities across the province. These are First Nations groups, municipalities, community-based organizations that are, and we have a team of specialists internally at CLEAN that work on things like city planning, on GIS mapping, on adaptation strategies, and grant writing. So really the goals for us are to make sure that we're increasing the number of grant applications that get submitted from communities across Nova Scotia. There are huge pots of money that are available through the federal government and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and many other funding sources. And our feeling is that if we can encourage people and provide them with the resources to submit really high quality applications, then much money as possible from some of these federal funds towards issues of need in our home community here in Nova Scotia. And then just general note on program development. I think like the slide deck that I'm showing you here today is much bigger than the one that I would have showed you a few years back. So of those 180 employees at CLEAN, I remember a time when our organization was about 40 people, and that was not so long ago. That was like in the last 5 years. Really our goal is to reach out to communities to make relationships like the one that Dr. Waldron was so kind to establish here today, and try and hear from communities and learn as much as we can about the needs that are present in communities across Nova Scotia, and really try to design programs that address those needs as best we can. So we've got a kind of development team at CLEAN that's ready to learn about problems, learn about funding opportunities, and try and create some matchmaking services, some alignment between community need and available supports. So we're always happy to hear from folks if there's a project that you're particularly passionate about and you think that our team at CLEAN might be able to help, then we'd love to hear from you. So I would say that the CLEAN website may not tell the full story of our organization. What it does do, it acts as a bit of a landing page for signing up for many of the programs that I mentioned here today. So if you're interested in applying for an opportunity on the Youth Climate Council, or signing up for home energy assessment to see what rebates or free services might be available for you, or signing up for a test drive for a new electric vehicle, most of those programs that are public facing and provide opportunities for immediate involvement have a sign-up sheet somewhere on our website. And we've tried to make it as clear as possible. We've got some buttons through the website and some headers here that kind of point you in the direction of the opportunities that you might have to jump on board with any one of our programs now. But I think beyond just typical sign-up sheets available to the public online, I wanted to also provide you folks with some contact information for folks that are running different programs in our organization. So we've got contact here for folks that are involved in any of those departments and programs that I just mentioned. These are the managers of various projects across our organization. And if you wanted to reach out with a general question, they would certainly be able to point in the direction of the most appropriate way to get involved. And I include, apart from all of the direct stuff, if you want an energy assessment, then send Mike McKay a message and he'd be happy to get back to you. But if you just have general questions or supports or ideas for collaboration, I offer my contact information down here at the bottom too. So I may not be the right person, but I can certainly put you in contact with who that is. I think that's it for me. I'm certainly happy to take some time and chat or answer questions. I also realized that for me in Nova Scotia, we're 4:40 on a Friday, so I really do appreciate folks taking the time to come out this afternoon. Yeah, if there's anything I can do.
Okay, so I'd like to open up to questions. Does anyone have any questions about what he presented or things that were not presented?
I have one. I'm in Lincolnville, Nova Scotia, Lincolnville, Geisel County. Yeah, a lot of our residents in this area don't have access to computers or whatever, and it's a senior community.
Yep.
So, is there any way that they could get applications and stuff, and other than the website?
Yeah, for sure. I know there's physical applications that we would be happy to send along. I For many of those programs, I'm wondering about the best way that we can get those out to you. I also know that Penny Sears from Clean is also on the call. She's here to keep me honest and correct me on any of the mistakes that I may have made. But Penny is our director of marketing and communications.
My address, and I can distribute them to my community.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I said, I think, yeah, go ahead, Penny.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we could, those programs that would be applicable and you could apply for, what we could do is look at printing off some of those applications and maybe sending you a batch to you, Rosie, is it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, if we get after this call, maybe if you email us your contact information, we could get some information out to you, or even call folks too, and help do the application that way.
Oh, excuse me?
We could even, in some cases, we could even call folks and help with some of the application forms, depending on the need and the easiest way to make it accessible for
Well,
everyone.
A lot of people there don't even have email addresses or nothing like that, and they're very subconscious about the phone because a lot of numbers come in unknown, and people are very wary about this
Yeah.
because the scam stuff that's going on.
Yeah, I think, you know, in a lot of these cases, we've been really lucky to work with community champions. And Rosie, you know, it sounds like you might be one. But
Yeah.
you know, for folks that are in community and understand kind of the needs of their neighbors and who they're likely to pick up the phone for or answer the door for.
All you got to put on is 22 Lincolnville Loop, and I'll get it. It's Rosie McClellan, 22 Lincolnville Loop.
Right. So I think,
Your last name, Rosie?
McClellan.
McClellan?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if it might be easier for Rosie. I don't know if it's Sumia or Portia that Rosie received the email about this presentation.
These are from Portia.
Okay, so it might be easy for you to just connect with Portia by email. And then Portia could connect you to Penny or Rob. I don't know who's the best person.
yeah,
Yeah,
easy
maybe.
to put both of us on there, and we'll make sure it happens.
Okay.
Yes, so maybe in general, anyone who wants extra like additional information, identify who you received the email from. It's either Sumia from last year's project or Portia, and then reach out to them, and then they can connect you to Rob and Penny.
Okay.
Rosie, Lincolnville has all of the retrofit program applications. I've distributed them and gotten them back and sent them back into Sherry Smith. So just any other programs other than the home warming and the new retrofit project
Right.
that would be applicable to Lincolnville? Yeah.
Yeah.
Rosie, do you have any other questions?
No, that's it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Concerns? Any concerns?
Rosie, do you want to speak on the clear cutting in Lincolnville? and who we could contact to maybe address that concern for our most vulnerable citizens?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of clear cutting going on, but it's got to do, and they're trying to get the windmills through here, which is very close to my residence, which I disapprove of, really.
But there's no clear cutting going on through the Lincolnville loop and everything, like everything's growing in. And that seems to be one of the major concerns of the citizens of Lincolnville,
Yeah.
which are 90% seniors. So I'm just wondering, how do we go about addressing that concern, other than with the municipality? Do you guys have any, I know that you work with Nova Scotia Power, and I know that they have, they're into clear cutting when it comes to even the power lines. They
Yeah.
are, yeah, there's been no clear cutting being done in regards to that whatsoever, and that is a major concern here in the community of Lincolnville.
And also, if a fire ever breaks out in our community, we don't even have a water holding tank, so we can do something about trying to help our neighbors. And we've had deaths in our community from fire due to that fact. And we don't even have a water holding tank, and our wells do not hold enough water, to even say that we're going to run water out in buckets to rush to a neighbor's house to help them.
Yeah, I appreciate the
By the time
concern.
a fire department to our home, it's anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, I really appreciate the concerns. I around the clear cutting issues, we really like Clean is very much a program delivery organization where we work really hard on the programs we're contracted for, and we don't like I don't have an immediate contact point to address like advocacy or clear cutting.
A local clearing company to clear the power line, and they left all the trees just in the ditches.
Yeah.
They didn't even clean it up. They just left it laying there, which and at one point I even had to go over and tell them to remove them that was close to my own shelter in case of fire. The brush and stuff that they should have took with.
Yeah. Yeah, around the risk of wildfire, this is a concern we hear a lot more these days. Ever since last year, it's been kind of front of mind for a lot of communities, especially communities that have kind of one access in and out, or remote communities across Nova Scotia. So we've been talking a lot with the provincial government around resilience programs that try to address community planning and. But as far as an existing initiative, I don't know of any offhand that would be able to address that specific concern.
Well, as Ingrid knows, because she's been working with us over the last year, and we have issues with that new one down there because now they're not even.
Sorry, Rosie, we couldn't hear you.
So I think some people have their micro, can we mute the microphones just so we can hear? Rosie, continue.
Yeah, as Ingrid knows, because she's been working with Jackie and I for years with Lincolnville Reserve, what have you.
Did you mute it? Did you mute it?
I don't know.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, and the landfill down there is not following the policies that they used to anymore. So that's a big concern too, about fires and stuff like that, that they continuously cover up and stuff like that. So, it's not recycling the way it used to. A lot of the garbage laying above the land now, since GFL took it over. It's a mess.
There's no sorting being done like it was when the municipality had ownership of it. Yeah, those are major concerns.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I wish I had a really clear answer for you, and a lot of these things do fall within like municipal responsibility and ownership, you know. So I really encourage people
Long
to work.
owned landfill. It was sold to GFL.
Yes, that's right, that's correct. So again, so that should be addressed with the municipality? Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Any other concerns from anyone else? Okay, so moving forward, Rob, you provided a lot of information today, and did you say that the information was on your website, or do you have specific links?
Yeah, largely the information and all the sign-up sheets for applicable programs should be on our website. I can follow up with a document to you, Dr. Waldron and Portia, who I've been working with in coordinating these meetings. So I'll follow up with a bit of a quick info sheet for people to kind of process, and that'll have info on how to get in touch with various programs, I think.
Okay, and once I receive that, and I guess Portia will receive it, I will also send it to Sumia, because
Yep.
Sumia is the project coordinator for the project last year, for the workshops last year, and we'll send it out to all the participants. And then if they need to follow up, is it okay to give them your email, Rob?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
So that's what I'll do, everyone. So he's going to send us some information. We'll send it out to you, and I'll include his name and email. And if you need to follow up about anything or ask questions, you can reach out to Rob Harris at Clean Foundation. How does that sound? Okay. Okay, so if there's nothing else, I'd like to thank Rob and Penny for participating in this webinar. And maybe there's a follow-up meeting, I don't know, in the future if people have more questions. But thanks once again for this very important information, and I await your email with the links and information.
Yeah, thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for having us today, and please enjoy your weekends.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for
Thank
attending.
you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.